President Trump is welcoming Ukraine's president to the White House today, keeping hope alive that he can end the nation's war with Russia. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Good morning, Alice. President Zelensky is hopefully for a much better visit than his last visit in February with the president.
Yes, because that last one, you may remember the images, you may remember the sounds of shouting that drifted out of the Oval Office when President Trump and Vice President Vance had some very sharp words for Ukrainian President Zelensky, saying that he hadn't been thankful enough for the aid that the U.S. had provided up to that point. President Trump said he didn't have the cards and needed to kind of show his gratitude and back down a little bit. And so that was not a great moment for Ukrainian President Zelensky here in Washington. And today is going to be quite different because he's going to have the backing of several European leaders who are coming as well. As we understand it, there's first going to be a meeting just between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. And then after that, all of these European allies are going to join for a larger meeting talking about their desire to see the U.S. stand with Europe and stand with Ukraine against this Russian assault that's gone on for now 3.5 years.
Yeah, you mentioned those allies being with him. What kind of message does that send?
Yeah, I think really we saw, of course, this all comes after the Trump and Putin summit in Alaska on Friday. And there was some really striking imagery out of that meeting. You had literally the red carpet rolled out for Vladimir Putin, and then, handshakes, a lot of sort of warm-looking signals between those two leaders that certainly critics are not pleased with seeing, given the fact that Vladimir Putin is a war criminal and had not been to the U.S. in quite some time. The past administration had done more of an effort to try to isolate him. The Trump administration believes that he has to be brought to the table, that is the only way to wind down this war that has been so costly over these years. But that's all the imagery up to this point. And today, the European allies are saying, okay, if you're going to have a handshake for Putin, then you're going to have the locked arms of Europe here standing with Zelensky and showing that this is important to us, that, the Russian aggression is at the doorstep of Europe, and there's been concerns all along that he could go beyond Ukraine. And so they want to make sure that Ukraine's interests are protected in any peace deal that may come out of all of this.
Got it. All right. The president came with no deal on Friday with his meeting with Russian President Putin. How much tougher of a position does this place the White House?
It's tricky because President Trump has more than once said that he's going to levy some sanctions against Russia, that he's going to have severe consequences, a number of different things that could be. And he has repeatedly sort of stepped to the edge of doing that and then has extended, has offered, a different reason to not do that at this moment. We heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio that, in fact, he thinks that leveling sanctions right now would have a negative effect on the push for peace, and that would likely end the negotiations, and that no one else would then be in a position to try to pull Russia back from what it's been doing. The problem is that Russia has not been pulled back from what it's been doing to this point. It has only continued its assault and continued the death and destruction in Ukraine. And so President Trump is going to have to make up his mind about whether he thinks he may lose face if he keeps, threatening something against Russia and then not following through. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him today at these meetings to take the next step.
Sounds like it. All right, Alice Barr, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insight.